Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to go over my top 5 favorite tips that I think every single Shyvana player needs to know. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is LowFit. I do educational content and do tips videos, guide videos, and I also stream here on YouTube. My goal behind this video is to make you a better Shyvana player, as well as to give you a better understanding of the champion as a whole. Now, if you have any direct questions for him, if you want to reach out, I am going to link my Discord down in the pinned comments where you can send me a message there, as well as you can hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when I go live on my stream here on YouTube. Now, as I am a bit limited with this type of format, only doing 5 tips because I don't want my videos to run too long, I heavily encourage you guys to add your own tips for Shyvana down in the comments down below. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the first tip. And jumping into my first tip for Shyvana, it is really important to understand where Shyvana's strengths lie. And the reason why I don't have any gameplay up for this is because it's a little bit more theory that is around Shyvana. She's an exceedingly strong power jungler, and she can CS extremely quickly. But, however, this relies on having lanes that are pretty self-sufficient. So, if you're playing Shyvana and you have something like a Veigar in the mid lane, you have something like a Kayle up in the top lane, you have something like a Vayne Janna in the bot lane, this is going to be a rather poor time to pick Shyvana because you are not going to have any lanes that have priority and are going to be able to be first to the punch if there is, say, a skirmish over a scuttle, or maybe there is an invade with the enemy jungler as well as one of the laners that are able to push out your laner very quickly. So just get a good understanding of where the early game is really going to lie, and with your dependency on dragons and your ability to get tankier the more dragons you acquire, it is really good to play Shyvana when you have a lot of very strong laners, as this is going to really allow you to have more of an impact around the map and cover up a little bit of the weaknesses you have on Shyvana in the early game in your limited dueling potential. Now, she isn't as bad as something like maybe a low level Zac or a Mumu. She's a decent duelist, but she does rely on having at least self-sufficient lane, so please keep this in mind when you are picking Shyvana. Now, if you're a one-trick Shyvana player, hell, you could probably make it work, but if you're just one of those people that are looking to have maybe a Shyvana as like a second or a third pick and not really be their main champion, this is something you should really consider, as she isn't the strongest blind pick out of the jungle. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the second tip. Alright, and jumping into tip number 2, it is exceedingly important to understand this very large thing that you can look to do when you are playing Shyvana. Now, this works in both her AP and her AD variant. You're going to be a little safer doing this in the AD variant just because you will be a little bit tankier. But when you are looking to play Shyvana, you have to understand that she has a rather large amount of AoE damage that she can put out rather quickly when she is in her dragon form. And you can look to use this in a way that can really work quite well with allied team comps that have a lot of AoE damage. For example, Shyvana works exceedingly well with something like an Orianna that is able to really combo off what you're able to do with the Dragon's Descent. Now, what I want you guys to start looking to do a little bit more when you are playing Shyvana is you are able to really group up a lot of people when you are playing Shyvana as you push them towards your end point. As you can see here, they are all in the radius of the one really big fireball. So when you are looking to do damage and when you are looking to burst and look for really big team fights and engages when playing Shyvana, well, maybe you have a Zunya's Hourglass and you can do a really strong dive like that. You don't want to always just be looking to do a random Dragon's Descent from a safe range and throw off your E's from max range, as you are able to force a lot of people into a really big clump when you are playing Shyvana with your Dragon's Descent. And that will wrap up this tip. Alright, and jumping into tip number 3, the reason why I think Shyvana is such a really strong jungler at the current moment is because there are very few junglers that can work quite well in the current meta that are very strong power junglers. A few that come to mind that can work are things like a Karthus that are able to go through minions really quickly. So when you are playing Shyvana, you really need to take full advantage of how quickly you can carry and kill all of these different jungle camps. If you didn't know, it is because of your really strong damage per second, you're not having a mana bar, and you're also able to do a little bit of percentage damage when you have marked targets that is exceedingly effective against really big minions, and just a strong overall clear speed is really going to allow you to acquire items quickly, and really should change up your playstyle a little bit, less to be a really gank heavy jungler like something like a Lee Sin or an Elise that are always looking for that level 3 gank, and focus a little bit more on different item break points, like for example getting a Stalker's Blade and getting the Runic Echoes enchantment, or getting a double spell pen early in the game with Sorcerer's Shoes and your Oblivion Orb, and really taking full advantage of the high base damage numbers that is coming out of your Flame Breath when you are in the Dragon's Descent. And that is going to wrap up tip number 3. Alright, and jumping to tip number 4, I want to talk about a couple of things that are rather important when you are playing Shyvana, and that is having a bit of a bot side focus, particularly when dragons are up. If you didn't know, you get a total bonus of armor and magic resistance per dragon that you are able to kill. You're also able to kill dragons exceedingly quickly with your extra 20% more damage to dragon type monsters. Now keep in mind, this does not affect your true damage that comes out of your smite. You will still do 1000 damage at level 18. It's not going to give you an extra 20% like some weird kind of bonus where Shyvana can smite better than other people. But what you really want to look to do, particularly when dragons are up, is to gank the bottom lane and to give your teammates a good understanding and to tell them to start clearing vision when you are looking to take the dragon. This is a great pick. I think Shyvana is an absolutely amazing pick with a really strong bot lane. For example, something like a Zyra and a Caitlyn that are almost constantly going to have a rather large lane priority unless something goes horribly wrong. So whenever you are looking to play Shyvana, make sure that you are making a strong bot lane and getting them ahead to a decent point, and this will kind of allow you to snowball the fight as well as really get in those scalings and a lot more bonus armor and magic resist. And that will wrap up this tip for Shyvana. Alright, and getting into the final tip for Shyvana, I want to talk about something that is pretty important when you are playing Shyvana, and that is understanding effective cooldown usage. There's so many different small things that you can look to do to effectively play out Shyvana. Now, the first and the easiest one to understand is just your basic auto attack reset that comes with your Q twin bite. Now, the second thing that is really important when you are playing Shyvana is not to, when you are looking to fight someone and duel someone and you already have a full bar of rage, the last thing you would want to do is use your unempowered abilities of the twin bite or the flame breath before you ultimate, because the cooldown will carry over. You will not get a reset of cooldown after you use your Dragon's Descent, so do not cripple the amount of abilities you are able to throw out in your dragon form with having cooldowns already previously being used in your humanoid form. So with all that out of the way, that will be my final tip for Shyvana. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up in the comments down below. As always, guys, take it easy.